Hey guys, Terry here, aka Lucrative Soldier. If you guys are like me and my family and thousands of other families who are looking to vacation in Mexico but want to cut costs, save a little money on airfare by traveling from Tijuana to wherever you may be going, whether it be Cancun or Cabo or Puerto Vallarta, whatever it is, and you're considering using the CBX or Cross Border Express, watch this video before you commit and decide. So with airfare out of Tijuana, you can find rates as low as probably half the price of what you'll pay leaving out of LAX. So it's very, very, very tempting to want to jump on those rates, and we did. And sound great, especially with the CBX option. And so we went on and did that. When you purchase your CBX passes, you are given the option to pay for parking. Well, the problem with paying for parking ahead of time is you have different options and different price levels, but you're not really sure what the differences are. Of course, the more you pay, the more convenient it's gonna be. But of course, we're back to saving dollars, and we probably aren't looking to, pay top dollar for parking. So I will warn you, we arrived 2 hours early, thinking we had plenty of time. And when we arrived, signs are flashing everywhere, letting you know that all the parking lots are full. Whew. Now, if that's not something to stress on, I don't know what is. You'll notice there are lots of cars parked on the streets, which you're more than welcome to take free parking on the streets. There's no parking violations. The only thing you have to worry about is your car safe? With that said, we were able to find parking at one of the further lots, which is, I would say, about a quarter of a mile away, which when you're factoring in your travel time or whatnot, having to run from a lot that's a quarter mile away wasn't in your calculations. Anyway, when we arrived, we saw quite a crowd, and we were kind of getting stressed until we realized that the airline we chose, which was Mexico, and another story in itself, which I will be posting. So be on the lookout for that if you are thinking about flying Mexico. Anyway, there was no wait for Mexico, so we went straight up to start our border crossing process. Seemed good, everything was okay. We still wanted to rush because we weren't sure what was ahead of us. And so as we reached a point, we kept asking, is it much further? How much further do we have to go? Oh no, the answers were always, it's right there. You don't have far to go, it's right there. So we didn't stress too much until the clock kept ticking away, and we weren't really getting anywhere. We started noticing them opening lines, taking people ahead. And what you will see is that they will take Mexican citizens ahead of U.S. citizens because they're coming back to their country. So they have priority. So you got to understand that and have some patience. Another thing to understand is they are not tourist friendly. So, their English is very minimal here. So, if your Spanish isn't great, you're going to have a hard time communicating. So keep that in mind. Now, when we got through, we rushed, and everybody kept telling us, it's right there, it's right there, it's right there. When we got to our gate, we saw them close the gate on us, and they refused to let us board the aircraft. So that was very frustrating. At that point, we're looking for options, and they're telling us, well, we can get you on another flight, but you have to go back to the front desk, or whatever you want to call it, where they sell tickets, and purchase another ticket for the next available flight. Well, guess what? Not wanting to miss out on a nice vacation, we decide we'll go ahead and check it out. So in our travel party, it is me, myself, my wife, our 2 kids, and my parents, the grandparents. So my wife and I decide I and her will go back and purchase the tickets while our 2 little ones, which are 11 and 13, stay with the grandparents. Oh man. So there's no video of this. I'm gonna tell you, I wanted to have some video but there's no video because it was a very emotional moment. It was very stressful. There was no video going on. So we head back and, trying to find out where to get these tickets, and nobody speaks English. Everybody acts like they understand you and points in a direction, but they don't understand you. So we end up back at the counter. Hey, happy. How much is it for the next flight? So let me tell you, our tickets to Cancun from Tijuana, I want to say per person round trip on CBX Mexico, we paid under $200. Great price. In order to catch the next flight to Mexico City, which is where our next flight was going to pick up, they wanted to charge $500 per person.
I said, wait a minute, wait a minute.
We're here because we're trying to save money. $500, that's out. We go to all the other airlines, check, not an option. Oh, man. So at this point, we're trying to get back to the gate where the rest of our family is, and security doesn't want to let us back through. So with our pleads and everything else, they refuse to let us back through because we do not have a updated boarding pass or airfare. They don't care that our family's on the other side waiting for us. None of that. And, again, the language barrier is not helping. So through all the frustrations we spent hours trying to get back over to our family, where we were barely in communication because cell phone service was kind of not the greatest because we're international now and on an international plan. So, of course, my wife is the emotional type, and she is breaking down, having an emotional breakdown, crying. And luckily, one of the, I need to remember this airline because this pilot was so helpful. And he took the time out, helped us. He calmed my wife down, let her know what our options are. They're very slim. And he said, basically, we are not going to get back on to the gates where our family is unless we purchase a ticket. It's not going to happen. So he said the best thing to do is somehow get a hold of your family and have them come back with us to the ticket counter, which is on the Mexico side. So you're no longer able to get back to CBX crossover, any of that, once you go exit to the ticket counter. That's what they don't tell you. That's what you don't know. And that is part of the horror. So after hours of going through this, we finally get in contact with the rest of our family and somehow are able to guide them to where we are. And they meet us at the ticket counters on the Mexico side, where now we have to figure out how we are going to get back to the CBX parking lot where our vehicle is, because we cannot go back through CBX now. So here go our next frustrations, and that is finding out how we'll get back to the parking lot. And it's crazy because, again, the parking lot is right on the other side of the wall. But in order to get there, you either go through the airport with a valid ticket, or you have to do what we did, which is take a taxi all the way back to TJ and cross the border there. We had a late night flight, which was 11 o'clock. So by the time we get back to the, U.S.-Mexican border, or I should say we've been at the border the whole time, but by the time we get to TJ crossing, it's probably about a good 1 or 2 in the morning. And if you know anything about TJ is a little party town. So, a lot of clubbers going clubbing, whatever. So we are at the border with our family, our 11, 13-year-old and our elderly grandparents or whatnot. And we are waiting in this long line to cross back over the border into the U.S. side. It's a process. And by the time we get to the front, we're excited. We're about to cross over. Well, I'm not sure what happened. They just decided to stop letting people cross for a moment. And we probably sat there at the border again with our luggage and kids and grandparents for another hour until they started letting people back over the border. Thank God that once we got past that point, it was very straightforward. We did get sympathy from the agents on our side crossing the border now. which was a relief. We needed it. It's been a rough night at this point, and we needed it. Our journey's still not over. Now we're back in the US side. We have to get a taxi all the way back to CBX. So we catch us 2 taxis because it's so many of us and we need 2 taxis. They take us back to CBX, get our car, which, by the way, you pay by the day, and they charged us a full day even though we were only there for a few hours. But that was the least of our worries at the time. We're just happy to be getting back to our vehicle and getting out of there. So with that said, that was the end of the horror for the most part. And we ended up, all honesty, went back home, did not give up on our trip, and we booked us a flight out of LAX. It cost us more. Price wasn't bad, but after everything we went through, it wasn't even an option. It was just so much of a relief. And oh man, it was just so nice to be able to board our plane in LA, fly into Cancun, and not have to worry about any of the nonsense that we had previously went through the night before. So I just wanted to share this story with you guys because yeah, people, have good stories about CBX, but this is one that, of course, if you don't know about crossing over to, going to the ticket counter to get a new ticket because you missed your flight or whatever, that you're not going to get back over to CBX if you do not purchase a new ticket. And you're going to be stuck trying to figure out how to get back around to CBX with taxis, etc. So I decided to post this because I wanted people to learn from our experience. If you go, you want to take your chances, go hours in advance. And, play it safe, 4 hours in advance, 3 hours, whatever. Just, play it safe and understand what your consequences could be for not getting through on time, arriving late. Another thing I want you to consider when booking your trip, Mexico, if you are staying in Mexico 7 days or longer, they charge you for that. The way our ticket went, our airline ticket, we actually caught our flight, or was supposed to catch our flight, an hour over being 7 days. And there's no slack in that. So they hit us with more charges, on top of everything else we had to pay, because they have that fee for staying longer than 7 days, even if it's 10 minutes over 7 days. And yes, they do the calculations. They sit there, calculator in hand, they're not passing any money. So know ahead in advance what to expect. You're not gonna, you're not gonna get out of it. They're taking your money right there at CBX for those 7 days. So just a rundown of what using CBX actually cost us. Parking was $18 a day. For 6 of us being in Mexico for 7 days or more, ended up costing us $220, I want to say, for the 6 of us. And then the taxi back to TJ to get back to the US side, that was, I want to say, about maybe $40, $40, $50, $60. And then for 2 taxis from TJ, from the border back to CBX, was $40 each. So we came out of pocket $80 for those taxis. So all that ended up being pretty much what we would have been saving on just flying out of LAX. So we didn't really save anything. Now, what you should consider are your savings. That's with the mistake we made and not catching our flight. So let's assume you catch your flight. You still have to take into consideration how much you're going to be paying for parking. So think about that when making these arrangements, because all of that is a factor. And next thing you know, you could be back up in price to what you could be paying conveniently flying out of LAX, San Diego, Ontario, John Wayne, whatever. All the Southern California airports that we're local to. So if you guys appreciate this story, please give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody else who is considering using CBX so they can be prepared. and I would appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel because I'm constantly posting things like this where I'd like to keep you informed and keep you from making the mistakes that we have made. So I'll catch you guys next time. Enjoy your trip.